Hi, my name is Ariel, and these are the three teaching strategies that I selected for my project. So the first strategy that I picked was spelling investigations, and these are great because students can discover spelling patterns rather than having to learn rules directly by copying spelling lists and memorizing words. So it makes it's more meaningful. And this allows students to approach spelling as a problem-solving activity so they can collect words, categorize them, and then discover patterns, just like a linguist does. And the target areas are orthography, which is spelling, and then reading, so students can apply what they learn about spelling rules in order to solve words during reading, and then use these spelling rules in order to spell words correctly when writing. So there's a lot of different ways to implement spelling investigations. So I just picked a simple one from Essential Linguistics by Freeman and Freeman on page 161. And in this spelling investigation, students can figure out the different spelling patterns for the initial k sound. So you could start by having students work in groups and look for words that begin with the k sound in magazines, books, newspapers, or any other source. And then after that, after students collect their words, they can create a chart, or you can create a chart whole group that contains the different spelling patterns. So if you look here on the right, I took this right from the book. The different categories are words that start with C and then words that start with K. And the older students get, or the more complex spelling rules get, there's going to be more categories. So after you create the chart and students found different words, students can sort the words into the correct category. And then once this is done, students can talk in their groups about what they noticed and then create rules based off of these patterns. So looking at this chart, students might notice that every word that begins with C comes before the vowels A, O, or U, and then they might notice that every word that starts with K comes before the vowels E and I, and that will better help them to understand the rules that the letter C is followed by A, O, and U in consonants, and the letter K is always followed by E and I. And again, this just helps students understand the rules in a more meaningful way rather than just memorizing them. The next strategy that I really liked is drawing idioms. And this is a really great way to help students better understand figurative language. Idioms are particularly challenging because they don't really make sense based off the way that they're said or the way that somebody would read them. So the words that are chosen don't line up with the actual meaning. So this activity allows students to sort of compare the literal meaning and the figurative meaning. And students can use this knowledge during future reading tasks and communication-related tasks. And the only way to really understand idioms is by building background knowledge, so this activity really helps them with that as well. The target areas for this are semantics, so meaning, and students can apply these idioms during writing tasks, and they'll better understand them when they're reading, and then in any communication-related tasks, so listening and speaking. So here's an example of the activities. So students are provided with different idioms and they can work individually or in small groups. And then students draw the literal meaning of the idiom on one side of the paper and then they can write and draw the figurative meaning on the other side. And then after that, students can share their work with their classmates so that they can get exposure to all sorts of idioms rather than just the one that they were given. So in this example, a student was given the idiom, get your ducks in a row. So they wrote the idiom on one side and then drew a corresponding picture of the literal meaning. And then on the other side, they wrote get in line, get organized, which is what the idiom actually means, and then drew a picture that corresponds with the actual meaning. And this is also great for ELs because it provides a visual representation, which is great in leading them when they are presenting this information orally to others. And the third teaching strategy that I selected was a close procedure. And this is a great activity for helping students acquire grammar rather than directly teaching the rules of grammar. So it sort of makes students think about language and manipulate it, which helps with metacognitive skills. And teachers can use this to target individual areas of syntax that students might be struggling with. So if you have a student struggling with verbs, then you might take a passage, get rid of all the verbs, and then have students fill them in order to better understand where in a sentence verbs usually occur. And this activity targets syntax, so grammar, metacognitive skills because they have to think about their own thinking, reading, writing, and then speaking. So this activity can be implemented in a few different ways. One of the best ways to do it is in small groups or even individually. So the teacher can start by just modeling how to figure out the missing words by thinking out loud for students so that they are able to do it on their own. So you might start by saying, if you're looking at this example on the right, tomorrow is my little bed's first birthday, or tomorrow is my little egg's first birthday, and kind of realizing, oh, that doesn't make sense, let me try the next word. So just modeling that thinking for them. And then after that, students can work independently to fill in the missing words. And then at the end, the teacher can engage students in a discussion about the words they chose and then sort of explaining whether or not they make sense and why or why not. And so that is all the strategies I picked, and here are my references, and that is all. Thank you.